Hey, this is Chad with Drawn and Cornered. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about what I think is a kind of a bellwether, a harbinger of the Democratic viewpoint, the left's viewpoint of supporters, dissension, half of this country at large, and just kind of the problems they have with any sort of pushback against their ideas. And I think partially because the ideas have become less about a right and a wrong, about a your side, my side, an A and a B, as a good and a bad. There is no reason to have a dissenting opinion. There is no reason to be on the other side. If you're on the other side, it's because you're a bad person. For a highlight of this, I'm going to take three different instances where this has come to be in a public forum with a recognized important person on the left. First off, probably least important, is going to be Keith Olbermann in a tweet storm that he had over the weekend that said, "The task is twofold. The terrorist Trump must be defeated, must be destroyed, must be devoured at the ballot box, and then he and his enablers and his supporters and his collaborators and the Mike Lees and the William Barrs and Sean Hannitys and the Mike Pences and the Rudy Giulianis and Kyle Rittenhouses and the Amy Coney Barretts must be prosecuted and convicted and removed from our society while we try to rebuild it." This is not just about political opposition. This is about anybody who supports your political opposition. This is about them not only being defeated at the ballot box, not only being having their ideas struck down in the thought arena, but actually being prosecuted and removed from society. That's very extraordinarily strong language. Some would argue it's sort of Stalinistic type language from Keith Olbermann on this one. And I think it's a terrifying thing to see when it's not, again, about right and wrong or your ideas and my ideas battling. It's about, I'm good, and if you don't believe what I say, you're bad. Bad enough that you need to be removed from society. For our next one, I'm going to take one that I think was just really sort of incredible, which was an interview that Nancy Pelosi did with Wolf Blitzer. And if you want to see just utter disdain for the voting public or for the press or anybody who has a differing opinion on this, Wolf Blitzer talked to her about, why won't you just sign the Republican bill, which is 1.8 trillion, as opposed to the 2.4 trillion you want, that understandably has some pork in it, has some extra stuff in it that doesn't make sense. And we can argue about whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing. Republicans don't want it. Democrats do. There's an impasse between 1.8 and 2.4 trillion. The 1.8 helps out a lot of the exact same people that the 2.4 does. It just doesn't do all the ancillary stuff, which Republicans have talked about taking on an individual case-by-case basis. Nancy Pelosi says no. And the reason she says no is because the 1.8 is not good enough. But there's nothing right now. So the argument sort of falls flat. And that's what more and more people are seeing, from Ro Khanna to Andrew Yang to Wolf Blitzer, are saying, well, why not just get the 1.8? The 1.8 helps, and then you can deal with that remaining 0.6 that's out there and see if there's something that can be done on it. But at least you can get that 1.8 done. And she is aghast. She is annoyed with Wolf Blitzer. She talks about how he's an apologist for the Republicans. She talks about how he doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, it's an utter breakdown. It's a meltdown of astronomical proportions. And at the end, and this is, I think, the most telling point, and I don't think a lot of people are keying on this, he says, I am sensitive to and compassionate about these people's plights because I see them every day begging for food, begging for help. And she was like, well, do you feed them? And he doesn't say anything. And she says, because we feed them. We feed them. And I want to tell her, you don't. You don't feed them anything. There's no food coming out of your refrigerator. There's no money coming out of your pocket. You are spending other people's money. How valuable do you think you are when you are taking from other people and spending that to help others? That is not you doing anything. And the elitism of that statement is so astounding to me. And I think dangerous, again, because it puts these people in an air of royalty that I'm the one who is helping them. Well, you're helping them with our money. We're the ones. The American people are helping them. You are not doing anything. And I think that that's a very important distinction to make for any politician out there. And I'm sure you can find things on the right that are doing this as well. But this is just one of the most egregious and blatant, outside the lines versions of lefty gone crazy that I've seen recently. The last one is coming from Joe Biden, as Biden was told again and again, hey, we need answers on this will you pack the court thing. A reporter from KTNV, a local ABC affiliate in Las Vegas, asked, and he said, hey, I'm getting a lot of requests about will you pack the court or not. Don't these voters deserve to know? And Joe Biden says, no, they don't deserve to know. I don't understand how you can say that as somebody who's running for the presidency. Joe, we deserve to know. We deserve to know anything we want to know. Anything the American public is willing to press you on, you have to tell us. That's kind of the way this works. There's nothing we don't deserve to know. There may be things that are outside the bounds that probably are too personal or anything along those lines, but ultimately, if you're running for presidency, if you want to be representative of us and have all of our lives in your hands, you better be willing to answer any question that we are willing to ask. And yes, I would argue that this goes to Trump's tax returns. I would argue this goes to any impropriety that has occurred in the past. If those things are wanted to know by the American public, they need to be asked, they need to be answered. And there is something to be said by somebody who doesn't agree that we deserve to even know. That's ludicrous. That cannot happen. That cannot be the way that as a president you are willing to progress forward. What other things don't we deserve to know, Joe? What else are we not privy to? What else are we not big enough or important enough to deserve to know? Thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate you checking out Drawn and Cornered. If you are listening to this on a podcast, definitely subscribe. We put out shows every day. If you have any questions, if you want to get to me, you can get at drawnandcornered@gmail.com. That's drawnandcornered@gmail.com. Or you can leave a comment down below if you're watching this on YouTube. Subscribe there as well. Hit that bell so you get notifications every time we drop a new episode every day during the week. There'll be more news tomorrow, I'm sure. Stay tuned, pay attention, and we'll keep going.